All right, everyone, we are testing out a new product from Hannshow. This is the H6 instrument cluster screen and front camera kit for my Tesla Model Y. Let's get right into it. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Desmond. I make content about tech and travel gear, and we have the H6 instrument cluster screen and front camera kit here from Hannshow. And this thing has been awesome over the last several months I've been using it. It's interesting, this is not the version that I have installed in the car, but we're going to use this to walk through our initial review. So first of all, why would you need a dash screen? Well, I mean, I come from traditional like ICE vehicles. I like having an instrument cluster. I like having the information there. But more importantly for me, not just having it in eyesight, this comes with a front-facing camera, which helps me see the blind spot at the front of the vehicle. I have a 2023 Tesla Model Y, so there are no ultrasonic sensors, and Tesla Vision is like mediocre at best. It is a pain to park that vehicle just using Tesla Vision. I don't trust it. So having this camera is especially useful. I also have a front lip on my vehicle, so maybe this is why this is so great. Anyways, let's just get started. This is the box it comes in, pretty standard Hannshow box. This is one of their older ones. Their new stuff actually looks really good. But here's the screen itself. Let's just talk about build quality. I mean, I think this thing looks pretty good. It is solid and it's very OEM looking. So this looks just like a tiny version of the screen that comes in your Tesla Model Y. And installation is relatively easy. What else comes in the box is you've got our cabling harnesses. For the 2023s, it's just like 2 plugs and you're all good to go. And then you've got the camera. This is a little bit more of a pain. You need to install and route the camera cable through the hood of the vehicle into the cabin. But I will continue to say it on this channel. I am not a DIY channel. I'm more of a should you buy channel. So I'm going to show you some elements of install if it's important to the purchasing process, but a lot of the times there are professionals in the area that can install, or there are other great YouTubers that do show DIY installs for all the Hannshow products. I'm not one of those YouTubers. Okay, so install overall is relatively easy. Let's talk about the experience with the screen so far. All right, so here is just a look at the screen as it's on. I mean, one big difference between this version and the original version that Hannshow sent me is this has an updated UI, right? So it's been updated already. You've got the all white background, and now you've got my vehicle here. This is set to gray, probably hard to tell, but take a look. I'm gonna open the door. Cool, it shows all the animations, so you can open any of the doors, the trunk, the frunk. It should work. Let's take a look, test the frunk. All right, there we go. And also I have an automated power frunk installed courtesy of Tillard. And let's go ahead and close it. And let's see what the screen does. All right, cool. So overall, that's looking pretty good. And then to turn the vehicle on, let's just put this thing into drive. And now you've got the standard display. I have it set to this UI. I really like this version here, but what you can see here is on the left, we've got our PSI. If I just do a quick scroll, that's how I control what shows up on the left column. Now we've got the distance between cars during autopilot. Another scroll, we have access to the themes, and then setup. So this is actually really nice and a great addition to this version versus the original, which required you to hold the scroll button to the left or the right, whatever, to activate the setup. But now you can just simply trigger that. And now we've also got 3 different versions of the UI. So I really like these 3 versions of the UI. It gives you a good amount of like difference and variety in how the HUD display is. This one is pretty cool, probably not my cup of tea, but this thing looks really nice. And again, once you have the HUD display theme set, you can still scroll through your left column for information. And let's just take a look at setup. And this is a pretty standard setup screen. This is what you got with the original. So nothing crazy here. You've got your language settings, time zone, your Fahrenheit versus Celsius, 12-hour versus 24. Tire pressure, car model, you can change the color of the car model that shows up on the screen. I have mine set to gray. Day and night mode, I have mine set to night forever. And then brightness, you can set this to follow the screen, but I just leave this at 21. I think the screen is actually really quite bright during the day and even at night. So I actually really enjoy it. And we're just gonna push to the left to get out. And I'm gonna go ahead and just switch this back to the theme that I like. So a few other elements of just information here that I really enjoy that they changed and have updated. So you've got on the right side, this is your miles per hour, your speed. In the original version of this pre-upgrade, you had miles per hour showing up twice. That was redundant and pointless. You've got your drive mode. If I switch into reverse, you can see that now it changes back to drive mode. We've got our time at the top. That time is wrong. I haven't set it properly yet, but you've also got our brake, our seatbelt airbags, our brake hold, and then all of the lighting across the top. Obviously, we've got our battery as well as the miles. So you get percentage and miles left, and then you've got my odometer. And like I mentioned, you've got your PSI, you've got your distance between cars during autopilot, so I can go ahead and change that. Overall, I think this new version looks great, and again, when you compare it to the vehicle, looks pretty OEM. The graphics, the font that they've updated this to also looks really nice. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in park. And I've got easy entry, so that's why everything is going crazy. But once you put it into park, it resets back to its default screen, which is just this really bright white background screen. I mean, overall build quality, I think, is great. It's a little, I mean, this is a tiny screen. It's mounted onto this like plastic cover for the steering wheel, so it's not the strongest. I mean, I would not apply a lot of pressure. You probably snap this thing right off. But overall, I think it looks great and very OEM. So obviously you can tell here, this is the main screen on the Tesla Model Y. Dude, this thing is so sturdy. This is not, but they look very similar, and I think that's one of the things that I really enjoy. Overall, the screen itself is pretty crisp. I think the information is displayed relatively well. There's some like weird artifacts in the graphics, right? So if you notice here, one of the odd things is one of the taillight animations is lower than the other. So again, it's a software issue. I've said this before about screens like this. They come out so often, but nobody's really invested time to truly perfect the UI, the UX, and the software itself. This version, though, is much improved over the original version I got from Hannshow, which was faulty, and they did a great job of sending me out this new one, which I've been testing. But what I love about this is the front screen. This is probably one of the biggest reasons why I keep this installed and why I use it, despite some of the odd software glitches, is because this is really useful. I have a front lip installed on my vehicle, which you can actually see here. So when I'm pulling into a parking space, having this there is really, really helpful. And what I'll also do is I will turn on the additional cameras. So when I'm parking, I actually have a full 360 view of my car, the front, the rear, and the sides. So I actually think that is very useful and one of my favorite reasons why I have this on the car. And finally, one of the things that makes this really special is because I have the Hannshow yoke steering wheel. Obviously, everything's a little dark right now. I just want to show you the screen, but the steering wheel gives me clear visibility into the screen. It's really nice. It actually makes this feel like a single piece, and that's one of the other reasons why I love this so much. And I also use non-traditional steering wheels. So I have a yoke that I'm testing from Hannshow. I also have a custom steering wheel from Pimp My EV that also gives me full line of sight into this screen. So I actually had a chance to test two versions of this screen. So the one I have here had the older software, and it was the original one that Hannshow sent over. And I will say, having tested this initial version of the screen and having filmed, I really enjoyed it. The challenge with this particular screen was the software, and I think this was a faulty unit. So this would continue to freeze during use, so it would just stop displaying live information. It was non-responsive. I didn't really love that. Obviously, it was a flaw. And also it used an older version of the software. And you've probably seen a lot of videos of this online, a lot of like DIY installs and stuff. The reason why I'm so slow is because I actually test a lot of these products extensively. So when I found a fault and an issue with this, I reached out to Hannshow directly and told them that this was a problem. And they were able to diagnose the issue. They sent me a brand new one, and I've been testing that. So that's the other thing is, like I said, I'm not a DIY channel. I'm not just going to pump out product reviews of me installing and talking about it. I'm actually going to use it and tell you whether or not you should buy a product and spend your money on it. So that's why it takes me a lot longer to get products out there. And I'm sure a lot of the brands that I work with are watching this, but they know that. I like to test it. I like to take weeks and sometimes months to like put a product through its paces, because like I don't want to just pump out videos and to tell you to buy something and then have a new version come out, or this one's broken, or this one's not as good as the latest updates. The pace at which Tesla accessories is moving is very, very interesting. It is so fast. It's faster than a lot of the other industries and brands and products I've used, like camera gear and vehicles. Tesla accessories are kind of moving at the rate of like fast fashion. Like you'll pump out a screen and then a new one will come out a month later. So I'm not going to move at that pace because I believe in quality over quantity. And that's just my channel if you don't like it. There are other channels out there that'll just pump them out. You can see the latest and greatest all the time, forever and always. That is just not this channel. Okay, sorry. Let's get back to this screen. So the information on the screen I think is really important. And a lot of the value you're going to get out of this is actually the front camera, especially for those of you out there that have a 2023 Model Y and no ultrasonic sensors. So having installed the latest version of the screen from Hannshow, there are a couple things to call out, right? It had the latest software, which fixed a lot of the problems and a lot of the complaints that people were getting from the initial version. And then it works. So this version right here is obviously faulty and broken, but the version they sent me works. And again, that's also a testament to Hanshow's customer service. If you have a problem with yours, reach out to them. They will send you a new one. They will diagnose it. I had no problem getting a new unit. So with that said, what's my final verdict? Honestly, I think for what is this, under $400, for with the discount, sometimes it can get under $300. This screen is awesome. I really enjoy having an instrument cluster screen now, especially with the front camera. I probably won't go back to a situation where I don't have access to a front blind spot camera whenever I need one. Not a perfect product, but you know, like I said, fast fashion, they keep pumping them out. There's going to be a new version that comes out with Apple CarPlay. Who knows? But the screen itself, the hardware is great. The software could use work. I'm sure they'll fix that with an update. But yeah, it's like a little, you won't even notice it. I see it because I'm looking at it all the time. Anyways, neither here nor there. But another thing that I really love, and it's again very subtle, is the blind spot alert. So when I hit the signal to take a left, yes, the camera turns on. But if there's a car in my blind spot, the left side of the screen actually flashes red to tell me there's something in my blind spot. And that is very subtle and it's very cool. And again, super useful because this screen is directly in my line of sight. I don't need to look anywhere other than here and like use my peripheral vision to see these alerts. So again, I think a tiny safety feature they added to this that's very cool. So final verdict, I think this is definitely worth buying, especially if you can get it on sale for under $300. I'll share my discount code and a link to the product in the description below, but I really like using it. Obviously, I'd love to see easier and more frequent software updates. I think any brand that masters that is going to win the market. So if you can come out with a beautifully designed high-end screen and have a way to just keep the software updated, either through an iPhone app or some type of like easier connection versus using USB and like files, that would make a huge difference because you don't really need to change the hardware of the screen very often, right? You give me an Android powered like 7 to 8 inch screen, and then you just give me fire, amazing software that I can continue to update, and that is the product I will stick with. So Hannshow does do a good job of like sending out updates, but there could be an easier way. Anyways, with that said, this is not very expensive, and the convenience and the safety features and just like the information and stuff you get out of this is totally cool and totally worth it. They also, I think, will likely have a version coming out with Android CarPlay at some point. Don't quote me, I mean, like, it's coming, probably. If you like that content, hit the like button, subscribe for more just like this. I will catch y'all in the next one.